Hey there, this is James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems and BikeJams.com, and today I want to share a couple of tips for dealing with low back pain on the trail. Now, if you're doing everything that you should in your training, then you really shouldn't be suffering a whole lot of low back pain on the trail, but sometimes it happens. So what do you do when your lower back starts cramping up and hurting you on the ride? The last thing that you need to do is stretch out the lower back. It's usually not the lower back that is the problem. A lot of times what's happening is because we're in this hunched over position, the hip flexors and quads are getting short, getting tight. That's pulling the pelvis out of position. That's putting a crunch on the lower back. That's more of the issue than the lower back being the problem. So as good as getting off the bike and bending over and touching the toes and kind of stretching the lower back out helps, it's not the issue. Usually it's the quads and the hip flexors and stuff on the front. So a couple stretches that I have found helpful is the simple like quad stretch, but a tip that really helps you get more out of this stretch is to think about getting nice and tall in this position and keeping this straight. Squeeze your glute and push those hips forward while you're doing the stretch. So I see a lot of people when they do the stretch, they lose this, they just kind of, they pull the heel up to the butt, and this is flexed right here. So they're not actually getting this stretched out. So nice and tall, squeeze the glute, think about pushing the hips forward and keep that position and pull the heel towards the butt. As you can see, it's not going to get quite as close. Got to make sure that you're actually stretching out the quad and not skipping the part that's tight. Another one that works well that targets the hip flexor a little bit closer, or a little bit more directly, I guess, is to get set into a split stance position. Same thing, hips should be forward, nice and tall, and then staying nice and tall, you're just going to push the hips forward a little bit more. You feel that stretch really isolated here in the hip flexor area. But again, with this one, if you don't stay nice and tall, you don't keep the hips and shoulders stacked over each other, a lot of times what happens is people end up leaning back and doing something that looks like this. And so again, they're not stretching out the hip flexors effectively, and they're actually just putting more of a crunch on that low back. So, 2 stretches that'll really help you out on the trail in an emergency situation. Feel that low back starting to cramp up. At the top of the next hill, jump off. Try these couple stretches, shake it out, and hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. These stretches will also help if you do suffer from lower back pain. Doing these stretches on a daily basis will help that out as well as doing a good strength training program. So anyways, hopefully you found this tip helpful. Once again, it's been James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems. Check me out on the web at BikeJams.com, and I'll talk to you next time.